And I started talking to God, started asking questions. I got my answers. And that's where I fell in love with isolation. And there's times where I'll go back and forth. I'll be like, okay, I think I'm fine. I'll hang out with my friends. I'll hang out with these people. I'll go here. And then most of the time though, God's talking to me and he's telling me to like, yo, dude, you were once. Yo, bro, how's it been? It's been a while. I haven't seen you in a minute. Like, dude, you been good? Good lately? Like, how's life? That's what it's like when you isolate yourself. You isolate yourself from the world. You isolate yourself from people. When you want to follow God, you have to do that. You have to isolate yourself from worldly things, like going to the bar, going to clubs, just kind of in general. You just want to stay in your own lane, basically. You isolate yourself from friends and even family sometimes, like just a whole bunch of things, because the closer you get to Christ, the more you realize on stuff. Um, and the more you realize on stuff that's sin, you don't want to be around it because you feel uncomfortable. Even like sometimes when I go to bars and stuff like that, I see guys taking advantage of drunk women, or I just see people drunk in general, and I just see sin after sin, and it makes me uncomfortable sometimes. And it's like in my mind, and I think it's God speaking, just telling me to get out of there, and I really do just want to get out of there sometimes. What else? I remember too though, when I was a kid, I even isolated myself from people because I thought they were jerks to me or whatever. I was a sensitive little sissy. I'll admit it. Um, sensitive kid. So when people were say being a jerk to me and I didn't like that, I just went up in my room, watched some TV, just isolated myself from people. And I remember too, like even when I was a kid, I hanged out by myself a lot. I just went on bike rides by myself, skateboard rides by myself. And honestly, I was the most at peace when I was doing that. But in a way, it was kind of like I wasn't really by myself. I think it was honestly just me and God, because I remember just doing that stuff by myself and I was at peace and I'm just thinking out loud, but I was talking to God. And I remember too, just like when I first got my license, especially, like just driving around by myself was one of the best feelings. And I fell in love with that. Till this day, I still do that. I love just going on car rides by myself because I'm talking to God. I'm talking away my problems. I'm just thinking out loud, like, what should I do here? Why is this happening? And you find the answers best when you're in your own alone space. And again, a lot of people are going to look at you like you're a loner, like you have nobody. Truthfully, it's not that you don't have anybody. Truthfully, it's you just don't want to hang out with those people because you're not at peace. You're angry. You're crabby. You're miserable. So why hang around those people? Because I don't want to be alone. With God, you're never alone. With God, you're gonna be at peace. You're gonna be loved. But there is gonna be challenges. There's gonna be struggles. There is gonna be times where you do feel alone. But truthfully, you're not. Um, what was the other thing? But isolation, it can be hard because a lot of times, especially in high school and straight out of high school, I hang out with my friends all the time, like every single day. I'm saying, like, or every night, every weekend, and stuff like that. It was fun at the time, but at the same time though, it used to kind of get annoying sometimes. You hang out with people, get annoyed by them. You guys start fighting. You guys just find each other just annoying. Um, I remember doing that, and I remember there was at one point where I just hanged out by myself. And I didn't do that for a while, and it felt good. It felt good just driving around, talking to God, thinking about life, figuring things out. Because I didn't do that for a while. And honestly, I felt at peace. And that's what I needed. Especially one time in my life, I really needed this. There was a time where I wanted to go on this trip, and my friend bailed on me, and I was upset about it. I was like, dang, I was like really looking forward to it. You know, I was really excited for it. But then there was a time though, one day, I was just like, oh, let me go here. So I went there. I went there by myself. I walked around. I drove. It was a far drive. I think it was like a 2 hour drive. And I started talking to God. Started asking questions. I got my answers. And that's where I fell in love with isolation. And there's times where I'll go back and forth. I'll be like, okay, I think I'm fine. I'll hang out with my friends. I'll hang out with these people. You know, I'll go here. And then most of the time though, God's talking to me and he's telling me to like, yo, dude, you were once over there. Then you got out of it and now you're back over there. Why are you going back? So I tell myself, I'm like, yeah, for a whole month, dude, I'm not going out like that. I'm not doing any of that. I'm gonna stay in my own lane type deal. And it is hard to cancel something out that you love. As I know it with my secular music, as I talked about it, I still love just having a bunch of rap songs and just bopping to them and stuff like that. Their flow was crazy. Their hooks were really good. But I canceled it out because it wasn't Christian like of me. And a lot of people are gonna judge you. They're gonna be like, oh, you're a loner. Again, you're not alone. It also sometimes sucks though when people ask you like, oh, what do you like to do? And you're just like, how do I respond to that? I like to hang out by myself. I like to drive around by myself. And people are gonna be like, what? Like, dude, you don't go out like that. You don't do this. You don't do that. The world is gonna judge you trying to find anything Christ. And that's the sad part. The sad part is too, especially in a work environment, when you're not surrounded by Christians and instead you're surrounded by worldly people. And that's another hard part. A lot of people don't understand isolation. But truthfully, if you're a Christian, you understand it's one of the best feelings and one of the best things to do. Now, another thing that's hard to do in isolation is looking at like social media. You're seeing all your like old snap memories. You're seeing when you used to be in a way for the world. And you're looking on and you're like, oh, that was such a fun memory. Was it really? Well, like, what was actually going in your mind at that time? What were you actually really like? Because I think about that sometimes too. I look in the past, I'm like, dang, man, that was like so fun when we used to stay out late at night and stuff like that and hang out all night. But was it really? Because don't you remember of you being crabby in the morning and you taking out on others? Oh, I forgot about that part. I did do that. And again, you're looking on social media too, and you're looking at everyone's life, and you're comparing your life to theirs, and you're just like, why don't I have that? Why don't I have that special somebody? Why don't I have that cool friend group? What is actually really going on in that friend group? What is actually going on in that relationship of them? Are they putting Jesus first? Or are they just making their relationship out like it's something not? You know, you're comparing your envy everybody especially when you're isolating yourself. Because you're just like, dang, I miss hanging out with those people. Do you really? Because Why did you stop hanging out with those people? Because you felt miserable. Because you felt like you weren't good enough. Because they treated you bad. You don't think about that. Instead, you're just trying to feel like you miss it, but truthfully, you probably don't. Truthfully, you probably are actually in a better place without you even knowing it. And truthfully, right now, you thinking about that stuff, are you gonna look back on that and be like, man, that was such a good time when I was that years old? Was it? Was it really? Because were you miserable and were you complaining about your past self? And now you're still looking back on your past self. You're you're gonna look back on your past your whole life, because that's your history, that's your life. Um, Again, I mean, I know this is not even about really isolation at this point, but again, childhood trauma, um, all those memories you had as a kid, everything just comes together as one and just makes you who you are today. It's sad, but you can overcome it. As I talk about trust issues a lot, I can overcome it. But like I said, isolation. It just you just feel so at peace. You don't gotta worry really about nothing except yourself. And yeah, that's gonna sound selfish, but at the same time, no, it's really not. It's just gonna be at peace. It's gonna feel good. Trust me. Um, that like I said, there's times where I tell myself I'm like, I'm not going out tonight, and then I just get some rest, and it honestly feels good. um, stress about other people too, or like, especially too, like when you hang out with people and they judge you on whatever, and it makes you feel bad and stuff like that. Once you stop hanging out with those people, honestly, you feel so much better about yourself. You feel like you're like, oh, this is me. Like I can still do it without people judging me. It's hard. You just, in a way though, you also gotta be careful on who you hang around. Really, you gotta be careful with that. Um, but yeah, like I said, isolation is one of the best things you can do as a Christian. Honestly, that was my favorite part about actually following Christ. Like getting more of a relationship with him was my isolation phase. I mean, I still go here and there with it, but it was especially when I did it. Oh, I forgot to bring this one up. When you're isolating yourself from people in general, other people are gonna hate you on for it. I remember I got hated on for it. I didn't want to go out anymore. It just didn't feel right. Um, and I had someone judge me for that. I had somebody telling me, why aren't you going to the bar? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And I'm like, because I don't want to. I got nobody to do stuff with. Because those people were doing something completely that I didn't want to do. And in a way, I got hated for that. But guess what? You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to explain, I'm following Christ, I'm being a Christian. They should just understand that. Because, truthfully, Jesus will understand you. So that's all what matters. As long as you are trying to build for a relationship, it don't matter on what it is. But, like I said, isolation, one of my favorite stages of my Christianity, really helped me feel at peace, and it helped me become a better person. So I highly do suggest it. And for some people it might be a struggle. For some people it might not. Some people do just like being alone. And truthfully, did sometimes it would have been nice to have somebody on those little adventures I did by myself, yeah, it would have been nice, but would I had made it as it is if somebody was there? Would someone have stopped me from doing what I did? I don't know, maybe. Or would somebody have been with me to remember that? I don't know. But it was in God's plan that I did it and I isolated myself from the world, especially. Because on those times where I isolated myself, I didn't drink. I didn't need to hook up with anybody. I didn't need to go to a club or a bar. I just walked around in a small town and just explore and go to random places that I'd never been to, and it felt so good. And nothing was worldly about that, and I gotta get an amen to that, because I just felt so at peace. But that's Real Talk with K.M.B. We out.